Hey everybody, it's Marty, the JavaScript party, and my buddy Rhett. We're changing things up a little bit. There's two major changes. First is I have maxed out the volume. I had been doing things, and people were complaining about it being too low, so I maxed it out, and then everything was fine, and then suddenly it was a lot louder, and so then I brought it back down a little bit. See, like, let me bring my OBS into here so you could see. So when I said brought, see how it went all the way into the red. So I thought that was probably a bad thing, but then somebody made a comment that said, "Hey, dude, nobody can hear you. We can't hear you, bro." Which, that was a very kind thing for that person to do. So thank you so much. So I played one of my videos on YouTube. It sounded perfect to me. I was like, I don't know what this dude, bro, you're wrong. And then I went to somebody else's video and it blasted my eardrums. So I was like, oh crap, no, I think I am too low. I think the problem is I have my earphones all the way up because if I'm being honest, about the only thing I do ever watch on YouTube are my videos because I don't like the ads. I've complained a lot about those. It's one of those kind of things that, like, I'm sure, like, I know every time I complain about that, I see a massive drop off on my viewership. So by massive, I mean I go from like 10 people watching a video or 11 people watching to two, one. Oddly enough, I see more subscriptions every time I do that, but I see fewer watches. I don't know. I don't get it. So I don't know. I don't even know. You can't really tell what is true and what's not true. Who knows? Maybe my viewership goes up and YouTube just makes it look like I have less. Maybe, yeah, there's just no telling. But anyways, I do know I have like one video that like it has only two watches and it has 2 likes, which I think is pretty darn interesting. It makes me wonder, well, did I really have 50 watches and 2 likes? Or did I make a video like and only people that like purposely go watch my videos saw it? I'm just not sure. So there's no telling. But so that's one thing, is the volume. The other thing is it is currently 8:11 a.m. here in Marietta, Georgia. It is, well, my computer's wrong. My computer says it's 74 degrees, but it's like 30 something degrees, and it's pretty nice outside. It's not windy or cloudy or anything. So I'm changing my work schedule at work, and I'm very blessed that I can just change my work schedule. Like, not everyone can do that, but I'm changing it for when the days that I work from home, which is almost every day now. And but from the days I work from home, I'm going to work from 9 to 5 instead of 7 to 3, because there's just a lot of meetings that happen from 3 to 5, and I've been missing out on them. And then I end up getting stories, and I have no idea, like, when people write up stories, it's just impossible to get all the details and all the innuendos and everything into the writing. So it would just be so much better if I can just see the story. So that is that. Now, last time, well, Rhett, I was wondering if Rhett would sort of be different since I changed up the time, and it looks like not. But yeah, you are a good girl, Rhett. So we have been moving through, and we have this like ST service, and we have this 3 service, and basically we've sort of organically sort of gone into sort of the concept that anything that is our internal figuring of things, right? Any sort of like, hey, where does this exist? Where does that information exist? Blah, 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 blah. That gets processed and sort of put together in the ST side. And then the 3 side is anything where we do any interactions directly with 3, or anything that is kind of shimming some sort of conceptual difference between our, like, how we see things on the ST side and how they see things in 3. And so the classic example that I love to use, that I've used a bunch of times, is the look at, right? So ST my concepts on my stuff. The ST stuff believes that a camera should look. Once I tell a camera to look at something, it should look at something, and it should stay looking at that. If I move the camera, it should stay looking at whatever it's looking at. But the ThreeJS concept is that when you tell a camera to look at something and you move the camera, it's no longer looking at that thing. You moved the camera. So it's just like sort of a slight conceptual difference, and where determining what it should look at is something that is on the ST side, and then any code that is going to fix that should be on the 3 side, I think. So anyways, so we're having a division, and I'm like, and the reason that I did it that way is because I've like worked at a lot of places where we deal with things. So there's another library called D3 that in some ways is very similar to ThreeJS, in that it's similar in that it's a third-party API and that it is mostly focused. It is 100% focused on UI drawing. So so those are things it has in common. And when I worked at one place, we used to do these D3 visualizations, and sometimes there were things that worked a little different in D3, and so we would have to use D3 directly. And we did not have any kind of separation like this. So basically any kind of logic like that would just sort of just get swallowed up, and you didn't know that it was happening, and it'd be very confusing whenever you're trying to work with that code. And I had the same situation. Like D3 doesn't have animations built into it, so my animation scheme had a mishmash of ThreeJS and my stuff all kind of mixed together, and it was so confusing to deal with. So I'm hoping to avoid that. Now, we know that the next thing, so we've taken care of scene, renderer, and camera. So we need mesh, material, and geometry. I think we can 99.9999999% be sure that we're going to need a 3 packet, a 3 service, and an ST service for all 3 of those. So I can just go straight into the packages and just have it make all 3 of them. You know, just create a script for all 3 of them. So I could be like, and see, I have even like, I could even sort of copy this, right? And I could just be like, okay, I'm going to need 2 of these for geometry. Right, so just put in geometry here. Make it a lower case. Did I put in extra? No. Copy that down here. Put that there. Give it a capital G. And put that here. And voila, we have our scripts. Now I can do the same thing again. Just copy this whole thing. And again. And then we even have the help of the application to say, hey, fix this. And this is going to be material. Hit the cap block. Material. Material. Let's see. Material. And you see that I'm getting faster and faster, right? Like material. Material. Material and material, and then it even helps us again. So now we need mesh, mesh, massage, mesh, mesh, We know mesh, mesh. Oh, and we can copy this one. Mesh. And mesh. And so now we have our six things to run, our six different scripts to run. So we can just come over here and we could just copy this. We're going to do geometry first. We're going to do the space and time one first. So npm run SST, and we want to see that show up in here. And then there it is. There's our new geometry. And now we want to do our 3 geometry. And next we're going to do our material. And we want to see geometry show up in our 3 service. There it is. npm run material. And next we'll do the 3 material. npm run. And then we're going to do mesh. It's just while we're here, just double check that they show up where we're expecting them. Yep, we have our material here. We got our material there. We're going to run our mesh. npm run mesh. All right, so what we just saw is we are 12 minutes into this video. I did my rambling as I normally do and all that, and I was able to create my 6 services in just a few minutes. And that is exactly what they're talking about when they talk about velocity in Agile. They're like, the team will start to get really, really fast and your velocity will be through the roof and blah, 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 blah. And the problem is that they don't really take into account that these are the last ones, right? I do have 2 more to do in the future. One will be lights and one will be groups, but like this is it. We have built up all our potential, and now we've done our velocity explosion. I mean, it will be faster to flush these out too, but once that's done, we're gonna be right back into the grind again, and everything will slow back down. And that is one of the major fallacies of Agile. Agile sort of they have this linear growth that says, hey, these people are just going to keep on growing and growing and growing, and they're just going to get faster. But no, it's going to go up, and then it's going to collapse as you start to rebuild. And it's probably even going to be slower than the first. Like your low is going to be lower than the first, and your high is going to be higher than the first. Like the next time we have one of these explosions, it'll probably be pushing out different meshes and stuff, or geometries. It'll be the geometries, and suddenly we'll see a huge productivity boost, and then we'll see an absolute collapse again. And when they put what happens is, like, they are expecting that increased velocity, so they put a lot of pressure on the teams to increase their velocity when you're in a natural sort of, it's like a sawtooth, and when you've fallen back down, and then you end up forcing them to build really, really, really bad architectures, because the work is not visible on the other side. And so you have to have like a massive amount of trust between the people who are having work done and the people who are doing the work. And the problem is there's almost always a layer of sort of people like in the middle between those two. So the two sides that would build that natural trust don't even have access to each other, because that is one of my other sort of problems with Agile. And I think probably Agile's greatest strength. I think Agile's greatest strength is that it creates a lot of jobs. It creates a lot of roles. And so when companies want to spend $300 million on their software and they want to show, hey, look, as an organization, we're spending $300 million. It's real easy for Agile to create a bunch of roles. Most of those roles are not productive and they don't actually do anything. So like one of the things I took an Agile course once and they showed like how fat, like there's a race car and the race car came in and they said like in 1940 or sometime like that, like it took like 90 seconds to change out the tires on a race car that pulled in. But then they showed like all these people sort of freaking drop down on a train and pull off, and they can change the tire in like 8 seconds. And that is such a terrible example of Agile, because Agile is not like that. Those people were all changing all the tires and doing all that stuff at the exact same time. Agile doesn't do that. What Agile does is it would be like, a better example would be like if you had one guy that's putting the tire on and then somebody who's handing them the tire, and then somebody, and you just had like one, because like all the things can't be done in parallel. They say, oh, okay, now we're going to build end-to-end testing. Now we're going to write these things. Now we're going to read. Now these are going to be tested, and now and now this is going to be presented, and now there's going to be this demo. All these things are synchronous. They are all linear, right? Like I have to do this before I can do this, before I can do that, before this person can do that, before that person can do that. It's not all of us doing it at the same time. It's all of us doing different pieces of it. And so anyways, I don't know, as you could tell, I'm not a big fan of Agile, or at least I'm not a big fan of any implementation of Agile I've ever seen. I do love, though, I will give absolute credit, and I don't know, this one thing might make Agile worth it, is the daily meeting. The morning stand-up meeting is, before Agile, when I worked in Waterfall, I would see, and I would be blocked sometimes for 6 to 8 months where I could not do a thing. I've never seen that in an Agile environment. In an Agile environment, you very rarely stay blocked for more than a day or two. That is, if you're blocked for an entire sprint, that would be shocking. Whereas being blocked was just a standard prior to Agile. So that does make it hard for me to argue for Waterfall, because Waterfall, yeah, sometimes I would spend months where, but I was a junior developer. I was a brand new baby developer, so I didn't have any, like I couldn't just go and slam my fist down and say, hey, I need this. I can't move my project forward until I do this. All I had to do, I was at the back of the line. So maybe today, in Waterfall, as a person with 25 years experience, I could have a different amount of influence. But anyways, I hope everyone has a great day. I have to start work in 33 minutes. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.